transmission problems are among the most serious issues you can experience. Whereas engine problems give you some room to maneuver and save some money by fixing the problem yourself, any transmission-related problem demands a skilled mechanic. Usually I'd give you DIY steps in the list of tools necessary to fix the potential cause of the problem, but in this video we will have to take a different approach. I'll take you through the list of potential causes, and give you a rough estimate on how much a mechanic might charge for the repair. First, we'll discuss a list of potential causes for a transmission not shifting out of first gear, the transmission fluid level and condition. Just like the engine, the transmission has its own lubricating oil that keeps the complex mechanical components from grinding. Transmission fluid doesn't have to be changed as often as the engine oil. The exact interval varies between manufacturers, but the average range is 30,000 to 60,000 miles. Transmissions are a sealed unit, so there's no way for external contaminants to foul the fluid. However, even though they're lubricated, transmission gears and other components will wear out on a microscopic level, and over time this will contaminate the transmission fluid. Another thing to keep in mind is the transmission fluid levels. On most vehicles, there's an additional dipstick in the back of the engine, which you use in the same fashion as the engine oil dipstick. Pull it out, wipe it clean, reinsert it, and then check the transmission levels. How much does the transmission fluid service cost? Regular transmission fluid change should be done by a professional, as there's far less room for error. Because the transmission is a sealed unit, if the fluid levels are low, a professional should inspect it for leaks and find the cause. The authorized dealership will charge the most for a transmission fluid change, up to $200 in labor cost. An independent mechanic will charge much less, $50 to $100. The cost of parts is not insignificant, as you need a new transmission gasket, filter, and 8 to 13 quarts of transmission fluid. The transmission shift solenoid. The transmission shift solenoid controls the systems that shift gears by determining the ideal moment based on the current load and speed of the engine. The failing solenoid will cause rough and delayed shifting and difficulties with shifting out of neutral or first gear. The problem should be addressed as soon as possible to prevent more serious damage to the transmission. How much does solenoid replacement cost? Solenoids can be as cheap as $20 a piece, but for some vehicles, each solenoid can cost up to $100. The cost of labor is around $300 depending on the shop, while the average cost with parts included comes up to $450, the torque converter. I won't bother you with the details of the torque converter, as it's a fairly complicated component. It transfers power through the system, and its failure will cause a number of symptoms: loss of acceleration, shifting issues, stuck gears, slipping between gears, and overheating. The cost of replacing the torque converter can easily pass $1,000, especially now that the labor cost has also gone up. There's really nothing you can do about it yourself, but consider whether the repair is worth the cost. A transmission rebuild. Knowing how to identify the problem with the transmission doesn't matter too much, as the more experienced mechanic will have to re-diagnose the problem. Unless it's one of the cheaper repairs we already discussed, your transmission will require a rebuild. Without knowing the exact make and model of your vehicle, I can't give you the exact estimate, but transmission rebuilds start at $1,500 and can go up to $5,000. The average is around $3,000. When facing an unexpected cost of several $1,000s, you should always consider your options, one of which is buying a brand new or refurbished transmission. Depending on the model, it might be cheaper to buy an already refurbished transmission that comes with a mileage warranty and save on the transmission rebuild labor. If you're driving an older vehicle with high mileage and low market value, investing a large sum of cash into it may just be a waste of money. Consider the current market value of your vehicle, and whether selling your vehicle and using those funds along with the transmission rebuild money to buy a new one is worth it. Transmission problems, mechanic, or DIY. Some tasks are simply beyond a DIY mechanic, and some are even beyond most professionals. In my opinion, the transmission is the most complicated part of any vehicle, and you shouldn't even attempt to change the transmission fluid, let alone try to rebuild it. Other online mechanics may give you a DIY estimate and why it's beneficial to do the job yourself, but often won't guide you through the process. A transmission rebuild is like brain surgery, and only a specialized mechanic can do it properly. That being said, there's a lot of room to save on transmission repairs and rebuilds. explore your options thoroughly. Find shops with good user reviews and the cheapest prices, and consider towing your vehicle a bit further if necessary. Here are some other frequently asked questions about transmission issues. What are the signs of a bad shift solenoid? The most common signs of shift solenoid failure are delays and rough shifting when not necessary, and failure to switch gears. What are the signs that your transmission is going out? There are over a dozen symptoms of failing transmission, but these are the most common: humming noises, burning smell, leaking transmission fluid, slow and mistimed shifts, failure to shift gears, rough shifting, and metallic noise. What are the symptoms of a bad transmission modulator? The transmission modulator valve takes part in deciding when to shift gears. When it fails, you'll hear a whistling sound, experience mistimed and rough shifting, and get white smoke from the exhaust. To summarize what we covered in this video, if your transmission is stuck in first gear, there's nothing you can do but take it to a mechanic. Weigh the cost of repairs to the value of your vehicle, and consider your options. Rebuilding your transmission, buying a new or refurbished transmission, or selling your vehicle to avoid an unreasonable expense. Thank you for watching my video. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like and follow so you don't miss any of my videos.